Next on Currents News, the Archbishop who accused Pope Francis of not acting on sexual misconduct allegations is breaking his silence. The latest is next. An exclusive interview with Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio. He's speaking out against abuse. He's in our studio and moments away. A Queens parish is taking action to confront the crisis. Their story is ahead. Plus, what a way to celebrate a birthday. A wartime hero goes airborne. The news starts right now. Good evening, everyone. I'm Liz Faublas. The Archbishop who accused Pope Francis of turning a blind eye to sexual misconduct has given a new interview. Carlo Vigano is speaking out while staying out of sight. Currents News' Michelle Powers reports the very latest.
The Archbishop who called on Pope Francis to resign for allegedly failing to act on claims of sexual abuse broke his silence, saying he is serene and at peace. In an interview posted on the blog of an Italian journalist, Archbishop Carlo Vigano said, "I spoke because now corruption has reached the top of church hierarchy." During Pope Francis's weekend trip to Ireland, a country that has suffered immensely from clerical sex abuse, Vigano, the retired Vatican ambassador to the United States, published an 11-page statement claiming the pontiff knew about the now disgraced Cardinal Theodore McCarrick's abuses against seminarians.
Deliver us, Lord.
Vigano's unsubstantiated allegations claim Pope Francis did not punish McCarrick, but instead lifted sanctions previously imposed by Pope Benedict. Vigano alleges Pope Francis knew from at least June 23, 2013, that McCarrick was a serial predator. Although he knew he was a corrupt man, he covered for him to the bitter end. The 7,000-word statement went on to attack Francis's allies in the Vatican and was published by several conservative Catholics at odds with the Pope. When asked about Vigano's statement, the Holy Father urged reporters to do their due diligence and report back.
Quando passi un po' il tempo e voi avete le conclusioni, forse parlerò, ma io vorrei che la vostra maturità professionale faccia questo lavoro.
Archbishop Vigano doesn't have an untarnished record when it comes to cover-ups. A memo that he wrote in 2014 reveals an effort to suppress a church investigation into alleged sexual misconduct in the Minnesota Archdiocese of St. Paul and Minneapolis, which he now denies. Since Pope Francis removed Vigano from his job as nuncio to the United States in 2016, the Archbishop's been associated with traditionalist Catholics who are often deeply critical of the Holy Father's pastoral approach to the papacy. Michelle Powers, Currents News.
Brooklyn Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio is also speaking out against abuse, and he's in our studio with tablet editor Ed Wilkinson. Ed.
Thank you, Liz. Bishop, people are really upset about some of the things they're hearing now about the McCarrick incident and the letter from Archbishop Vigano. What do you say to people in our own diocese about some of the things that they're hearing in the news?
Well, I think you have to be cautious about what you hear. I don't understand it all myself, and it's upsetting. It certainly is upsetting if a former nuncio says that the Pope should resign, that he told him something that the Pope says he didn't know. So I don't know what to make of it in a certain sense. It's certainly upsetting that this is not being put in some kind of perspective to see what we actually have done as a diocese. So we can vouch for our own diocese that since 2002 it's a zero-tolerance policy, that any allegations of sexual abuse are reported directly to the district attorney. We have an outside reporting line, so we don't handle the case directly. It goes there, and then we know about it, and then we investigate. So I think the protection issues from 2002 are well in place. That's almost 16 years that we have had very few any real-time instances of any abuse. So that means the program is working. In fact, the whole thing about McCarrick came out because the program was working. Somebody reported abuse to the Archdiocese of New York, and that was how it came out.
Mm-hmm. What What do you think about the allegations made by the former papal nuncio that Pope Francis knew about what was going on with Cardinal McCarrick and chose to ignore it?
Well, the Pope said he was not going to say a word about the allegations until it was investigated by asking the reporters and people to investigate. So I don't know what more I can say. If the Pope isn't going to comment, I'm not going to upstage the Pope and say I believe him or don't believe him. So let's wait and see.
Yeah. In the report says that Archbishop Vigano would like to see the Holy Father resign. What do you think about that?
Well, if there's a reason, but there's again, we don't know. Let's wait and see what how the facts come out and how the Pope handles it.
Yeah. Now you knew Archbishop McCarrick in Newark because you served over there. You're an auxiliary bishop with Archbishop McCarrick. Did anybody ever come to you and say directly or indirectly, hint at some of these charges that are made about him today?
No, I never heard that he abused anybody, and nobody ever came to me and said he abused me. Would do something about it. I would have done something about it if I had known that, but I didn't know that.
Now, you know Archbishop Vigano, right? I mean, you dealt with him as the Bishop of Brooklyn here when he was the papal nuncio, and he's been here to the diocese for some liturgical. Why would he make these charges against the Holy Father?
I have no idea, because he seemed to be very even-handed, a very calm person. I don't know. It's hard to say.
The Pennsylvania grand jury report has really got people upset and angry. And some of the details that came out, and that was the first time that people had read some of these details in such detail. What do you say to people now, after they read all this stuff? And I mean, they're really angry, and they're shocked that some of these things may have happened like this.
Well, I agree with them. Again, when you know the sordid details of what some of the priests did as they abused people, some of it was really just out of the incredible. For priests to do this. This is why it's even more horrible, because these are consecrated people who should know better, and a church that teaches clear morality. I read our own cases. I meet with victims. The effect on victims is worse than what happened, to tell you the truth, because it's prolonged. It's lifelong problems for many people. So I'm disgusted by it. But what we can do is try to change the future. That's all we can do. We can't remake history, but we can make sure that doesn't happen again. And I think since 2002, certainly the church has changed since the Dallas Charter, what all the bishops agreed to make sure that we were policing ourselves, making sure that this kind of abuse would not occur again.
This is a game changer, though. I mean, things can't go on just the way they used to go on in the church anymore. What can you say to the people of our diocese that can assure them that such things are not going to happen again in this diocese?
Well, that's all I can say. They haven't happened since 2002. We have had hardly any real-time cases that have been verified to say it happened since that, and it was not a historical case going before 2002. So I think we are in a situation of protection. We have in every parish, there should be the number where people can report abuse. That's a deterrent right there. That lets people have a way to say, because in the past we didn't know how to report it. We were afraid to report it. Why didn't we go to the police? I don't know. We asked people. So you always could go to the police. You don't have to report it to us. The police are there. It's a crime. Report it.
Okay, Bishop, thank you very much.
Okay.
Liz, we're sending it back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Ed, and thank you, Bishop DiMarzio. As Bishop pointed out, the Diocese of Brooklyn has a toll-free and confidential sexual abuse reporting line. That number is 888-634-4499, and for more information, you can also go to the Diocese of Brooklyn's website, dioceseofbrooklyn.org, and click on Protecting Our Children. Bishop DiMarzio has created many important measures now in place to prevent abuse. The Office of Victim Assistance helps individuals who come forward with allegations of abuse. The office provides counseling, referrals for therapy, and other resources. Every employee of the diocese, including students, undergo mandatory training to prevent and identify abuse. Bishop DiMarzio meets with survivors and he listens to their requests. And the diocese holds a yearly Mass of Hope and Healing, which they suggested. Archbishop Vigano claimed Pope Benedict imposed sanctions against McCarrick, ordering him to withdraw from public ministry no later than 2010. Vigano charged that Francis lifted the sanctions after he became Pope in 2013. Now, in 2012, a diplomatic event honored McCarrick, and a featured speaker was Vigano.
First of all, His Eminence Cardinal Theodore McCarrick. He's ambassador from quite a certain time as a priest, as a bishop, as Archbishop and Cardinal, and very much love from us all.
There were other public occasions when McCarrick appeared after Vigano said sanctions were in place. There's a lot more news headed your way. In Woodside, Queens, Catholics hold special prayers to beg God's forgiveness of evil. A moving church service for Senator John McCain. A report from Phoenix is ahead. And In God We Trust has the backing of the courts. Do you have a story idea? Something happening in your parish we should know about? Because we want to hear from you. Keep this email handy. newstips@desalesmedia.org. We'll be right back. Catholics in Queens held a very special hour last evening to ask God to forgive as prayers of reparation were offered to counter the evil of clergy sex abuse. Currents News' Tim Harfman is here with a report. Tim.
Liz, the Holy Hour took place at Blessed Virgin Mary Help of Christians Parish in Woodside, and the Catholics welcomed the opportunity to pray. For worshippers like Eris Otanez, this holy hour was a way to pray for victims of abuse.
It's a tragedy. I believe that there is something, there is a diabolical element to it.
And he's worried that evil is on the march.
For many Catholics, it has rocked their faith, and but we have to remember that the gates of hell will not prevail against the church. That Christ is, this is Christ's church, and He will guide her church through difficult times. All we have to do is believe.
Last night, dozens of Catholics showed that they believe at Blessed Virgin Mary Help of Christians Church in Woodside, Queens. They prayed in front of the Blessed Sacrament, many with rosary beads in hand, to ask God's forgiveness for the evil that is still present in the church. The church's pastor, Father Christopher O'Connor, arranged the Holy Hour.
It was a beautiful time of prayer before the Blessed Sacrament, kneeling down. I was mindful of the victims of clergy sex abuse, and I was praying particularly for their healing and for renewal within the church.
Actually, I think the church should be more packed. I think that this was not a good turnout. We all need to get on our knees and pray so hard because the church is falling now.
She said during times of challenge, her faith showed the way.
I'm very scared, and I just believe that no matter what happens, the church is Jesus Christ.
Blessed Virgin Mary Help of Christians Church will host a parish town hall next Wednesday, September 5th at 7 p.m., Liz.
Tim, what does the church's pastor, Father O'Connor, expect on that particular night?
He'll start with a brief presentation about all the actions the Brooklyn Diocese takes to combat the evil of sexual abuse. He'll answer any questions, but the main focus is allowing people to speak out, Liz.
All right, Tim, thank you so much for that report. Chicago Cardinal Blaise Cupich is claiming a local TV station edited an interview with him unfairly. The Archbishop of Chicago said a report on NBC implied that he believed the protection of children is less important than issues such as the environment or immigration. This is the soundbite that the Cardinal referred to.
There's a small group of insurgents who have not liked Pope Francis from the very beginning. They don't like that he's talking about the environment or the poor or the migrants.
Cardinal Cupich argued the rabbit hole quote was edited in a way as to be misleading, that he was talking about the Vigano letter. The Catholic news agency said it transcribed the entire interview, including unaired portions. This is the section they published in connection with the rabbit hole statement where the Cardinal said he was talking about the charges in the Vigano document. But for the Holy Father, I think to get into each and every one of those aspects in some way is inappropriate. And secondly, the Pope has a bigger agenda. He's got to get on with other things of talking about the environment and protecting migrants and carrying on with the work of the Church. We're not going to go down a rabbit hole on this. The TV station defended the video, saying it was edited fairly. The Cardinal's interview came on the heels of a strong new action he took to halt clerical sex abuse in the Chicago Archdiocese. The Cardinal removed the pastor after allegations were made against the priest. The charges are not yet proven, but Cardinal Cupich said the action is policy.
Any misbehavior by priests with regard to minors or even adults, we're public about it. We go to parishes, tell them what's going on. We're transparent. We take swift action.
The priest, Father Gary Graff, was at his parish for a little over a month before he stepped down. While his investigation is ongoing, Auxiliary Bishop Alberto Rojas will take over as parish administrator. Survivors of clergy sex abuse demanded greater accountability from church leaders in the wake of the Pennsylvania grand jury report. At a rally in Washington today, there was also a demand the city's cardinal resign. Camila Bernal reports the latest.
Survivors of sexual assault committed by members of the Catholic clergy are asking to be heard by Pope Francis.
You reach out to us and you meet with us.
Last week, the Pope said meeting with people in Ireland who suffered sex abuse by officials of the Catholic Church left a profound mark on him.
In my meeting with the bishops, I encouraged them in their endeavors to remedy the failures of the past.
But survivors say this issue has not yet been fully addressed or solved in the U.S.
They are crimes against humanity, it's rape, and it's torture.
It's unclear what specific actions the Catholic Church will take following the allegations of the Pennsylvania grand jury report and a letter by a former Vatican official that accuses the Church of a cover-up. In June, the Pope forced the resignation of Theodore McCarrick, the former Archbishop of Washington, who was accused of child sex abuse, which he has denied. But there are calls for McCarrick's replacement, Cardinal Donald Wuerl, accused of not doing enough to protect victims while he was a bishop in Pittsburgh, to resign. The Archdiocese of Washington has declined to make Wuerl available for comment, but has vigorously defended him, saying calls for his resignation are mistaken and misguided. Camila Bernal, Currents News.
Still to come on Currents News, Senator McCain's good buddy Joe Biden offers a warm remembrance as Arizona says its final goodbye. And a remarkable birthday is celebrated in an incredible way. We'll be right back. Former Vice President Joe Biden led the emotional tributes this afternoon to Senator John McCain, his close friend. Karen Kaifa in Phoenix covering the deeply personal outpouring of love.
Amazing grace. Arizona said its final goodbye to its beloved senator.
Senator McCain, it's been a true honor to call you friend. Your toughness and bravery inspired us. Your love set an example for all of us to follow.
John McCain's wife and children led the group of mourners into North Phoenix Baptist Church for a memorial service celebrating his life and legacy. The tributes from fellow politicians and lifelong friends ranged from heartfelt to humorous, including the opening line of his one-time favorite congressional sparring partner.
My name's Joe Biden. I'm a Democrat. And I love John McCain.
Former Vice President Joe Biden also had words of encouragement for the McCains. His own son, Beau, died 3 years ago after battling the same brain cancer that took the senator's life.
But I pray you take some comfort, knowing that because you shared John with all of us your whole life, the world now shares with you the ache of John's death.
After the service, a motorcade to the airport for McCain's departure to Washington. His body will lie in state at the United States Capitol Friday, followed by a memorial at the National Cathedral Saturday. And on Sunday, the senator will reach his final resting place at the Naval Academy Cemetery. In Phoenix, Karen Kaifa, Currents News.
And may he rest in peace. A group of atheists in St. Paul, Minnesota argued the phrase, "In God we trust," violates the First Amendment. Well, a circuit court of appeals in the state by unanimous decision disagrees. Jurists backed a lower court ruling upholding the constitutionality of the phrase, saying the motto was not considered, quote, compelled speech and therefore does not violate freedom of speech, nor does the phrase constitute compulsory religious practice. Drive down any number of streets in Los Angeles and chances are you will find schools, freeways, and streets named in honor of former President Barack Obama. Soon, motorists and pedestrians alike will notice yet another roadway bearing the familiar name on their GPS. This week, lawmakers voted to rename Rodeo Road, which is in a predominantly African-American community in LA, Obama Boulevard. Most people fortunate enough to see their 100th birthday usually opt for a low-key celebration at home. Well, not so for a centenarian in Hawaii who decided an occasion this special deserved an epic leap into the wild blue yonder. Mackenzie Stasko reports from Dillingham Airfield.
Meet Polito Paul Olivas, 100 years old and as gutsy as ever. He doesn't want cake, doesn't care about the candles. Paul wants to celebrate the big 100 by going skydiving.
You see, after you get to 100, then you go to 101, 102. I want to do it before I get too old.
Like that, that's fine. And
so he signed up for a tandem 14,000-foot free fall. A brief safety movie and a few signed waivers later, he's ready to suit up.
Well, I'm excited. I don't know if you call that nervous enough.
That fearless attitude comes from fighting in World War II, the Korean War, and serving in Vietnam. Paul actually has more than 300 jumps under his belt, one with the famed 101st Airborne Division on D-Day and another during Operation Market Garden in Holland.
All the hundreds of other jumps you've done, how does this compare?
Oh, this is all different because, see, we don't fall down so far. 85, it's the static line, you know, pulls you out. You don't fall so far.
This is Paul's first time jumping for fun, and it's the moment he's been waiting for. Jumping from the plane, free falling, above the clouds, and soaring.
It's so nice flying like a bird.
A big grin on his face and smiling from ear to ear as he soaks in every moment.
In the beginning, I had never been up that altitude, only flying in a commercial airplane. And the higher I got, the smaller the things got, you know. But going out the door was good. The fresh air hitting you in the face. Awesome.
Paul says this centennial celebration is one for the books and perhaps one of his best birthdays yet. He enjoyed it so much he's already planning on celebrating 101 the same way.
it's been a wonderful day.
We'll do it again next year?
Yes, sir, and the year after, because remember, the Guinness Book World Record is 102, so we've got to do this on your 103rd birthday.
Oh yeah, we got to be
okay,
right.
It's a date.
It's a date. I say in all things, go big or go home, especially if you've lived to see 100 years old. I, for one, am looking forward to seeing you again next year, Paul. Happy birthday, young man, and we wish you many, many more. That is Currents News. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Liz Faublas. Set your DVR to record this program so that you never miss it, because we are putting your faith in the news. I hope to see you again next time.